In the quiet fields of Lurenth, Elian feels invisible among the villagers who care only about appearances. His loneliness drives him to the edge of an ancient forest, where he calls on the spirits hidden in the shadows. To his surprise, these ethereal beings appear, sharing their own stories of sorrow and loss. As Elian learns to communicate with them, a spark of hope ignites within him. He begins to realize that he is not alone in his pain, and together, they may find a way to change their fate. Elian wandered through the lonely fields of Lurenth, his footsteps soft against the earth. The tall grass swayed gently in the breeze, but he felt like a ghost among the vibrant colors of the village. The villagers moved with purpose, their laughter ringing out like bells, but Elian remained unnoticed, a shadow in the background. He could not shake the feeling of being invisible, as if he were simply a part of the scenery, overlooked and forgotten. Why do they not see me? He often wondered, his heart heavy with the weight of solitude. He had tried to speak to them, to share his thoughts and dreams, but their eyes passed over him like sunlight through leaves, bright and warm, yet never touching him. The village valued appearances, placing worth on those who stood out, while Elian felt trapped in a world that celebrated the visible. One day, desperation drove him to the edge of the ancient forest. The trees towered above him, their branches like gnarled fingers reaching for the sky. Elian stood at the threshold, the air thick with mystery. If only the spirits would listen to me, he thought, his voice barely a whisper. It was an instinctive call, fueled by loneliness and a longing for connection. To his surprise, the shadows began to shift, swirling around him like smoke. Ethereal figures emerged, their forms shimmering and translucent. They floated before him, their faces expressing sorrow and longing. Elian's breath caught in his throat. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice trembling. "We are the lost souls of Lurenth," one spirit replied, its voice echoing like wind through the trees. "We know your pain, young one. We have felt the sting of invisibility too." Elian's heart raced as he listened to their stories, each one filled with loss and despair. They spoke of dreams unfulfilled, of lives cut short by a cruel fate, and of the darkness that had settled over the land. He felt their emotions resonate within him, a mirror reflecting his own sorrow. For the first time, he realized he was not alone in his struggle. "How can I help you?" Elian asked, desperation tinging his words. He felt a flicker of hope igniting in his chest, a chance to bridge the gap between their worlds. "Listen to us," another spirit urged, its voice soft yet firm. "We need someone to remember our names, to tell our stories. Only then can we find peace." Elian nodded, determination flooding through him. "I will remember you," he promised. "I will not let your stories fade into silence." As he spoke, a warmth enveloped him, a sense of belonging that he had never felt before. Days turned into weeks as Elian visited the forest, learning to communicate with the spirits. They shared their memories, their laughter and tears intertwining with his own. He listened intently, absorbing their tales of joy and sorrow, feeling each emotion as if it were his own. Slowly, he began to understand the weight of their suffering and the power of their stories. "Do you feel it, Elian?" a spirit asked one evening, its voice like a gentle caress. "The connection between us? You have a gift." "I'm just an invisible boy," he replied, doubt creeping into his mind. "What can I do?" "You can be a voice for the voiceless," the spirit insisted. "You can show the villagers that true worth lies not in appearances, but in the essence of who we are." Elian's heart raced with the possibility. Could he truly make a difference? Could he change how others saw him? The thought both thrilled and terrified him. He glanced back at the village, the laughter and chatter echoing in the distance. Would they ever understand him? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden light over the fields, Elian felt a shift within himself. He was not merely a boy lost in shadows. He was a bridge between worlds. With each visit to the forest, he felt stronger, more determined. Perhaps he could find a way to bring the spirit's stories to life, to make the villagers see beyond the surface. Together, we can create a new beginning, he whispered to the spirits, his voice steady. I will not be invisible anymore. The spirits nodded, their faces glowing with hope, and for the first time, Elian felt a sense of purpose. The journey ahead would be difficult, but he was ready to embrace the challenge. He was not alone, and that made all the difference. Elian stood at the edge of the ancient forest, his heart racing as he felt the whispers of the spirits swirling around him. The air was thick with memories, and he could almost see the shadows dancing just beyond the trees. He closed his eyes, focusing on the connection he had started to forge with these ethereal beings. Can you hear me? He called out softly, his voice trembling. A soft glow emerged from the darkness, and a spirit materialized before him. It was a woman with long, flowing hair and eyes that sparkled like stars. We hear you, Elian, she said, her voice calm yet filled with sadness. We have waited for someone like you. What do you mean? Elian asked, confusion swirling in his mind. Why me? Because you feel our pain, the spirit replied. You understand what it means to be unseen. We are bound by the same sorrow that Lord Varen has spread across this land. With each word, Elian felt the weight of their shared history. The spirit continued. Our stories are entwined, and only by revealing them can we find strength. Will you listen? Elian nodded, feeling a surge of determination. Yes, I want to understand. The spirit beckoned him closer, and as he stepped forward, other spirits began to gather, each one sharing their tales of loss and despair under Varen's rule. One spirit, a young boy with hollow cheeks, spoke first. I was once full of dreams. Varen took everything from my family. We lost our home, our hope. Another spirit, a warrior who had fought bravely, added, I fell in battle, but my spirit remains, seeking justice for the innocent. Varen's tyranny must end. Elian listened intently, absorbing their pain. Each story was like a thread, weaving a tapestry of sorrow that bound them all together. I want to help you, he finally said, his heart racing with a mix of fear and hope. But how? The warrior spirit replied, You have a gift, Elian, the power to connect with us. But with that power comes great responsibility. You must be careful not to lose yourself in the desire for revenge. Elian's brow furrowed. What do you mean? One of the female spirits, her voice soft yet urgent, warned him. Vengeance can consume you. We have seen it happen to others. It can twist your heart until all that remains is darkness. He felt a chill run down his spine. The weight of their words sunk in. But if I don't act, how can I make a difference? The young boy spirit spoke again. You can make a difference by choosing compassion over anger. We need you to lead, not to destroy. Justice does not always mean revenge. Elian looked at the spirits around him, their faces filled with hope and fear. He could feel their desires echoing in his heart. I want to be brave, but what if I fail? The warrior spirit placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. You will never be alone. We will stand with you, guiding you as you find your path. As Elian contemplated their words, a sudden vision flashed before him. He saw himself standing before Lord Varen, his heart racing. Anger surged within him. The spirit of the warrior appeared again, warning him, Remember, Elian, the choice you make will define you. The vision faded, leaving him shaken. What if I am consumed by my own rage? He whispered, fear gripping his heart. The spirits rallied closer, their voices merging into a harmonious chorus. You must hold on to your humanity, Elian. Your heart is your greatest weapon. Use it wisely. With determination swelling inside him, Elian raised his head. I will not let fear control me. I will seek justice, but I will do it with compassion. The spirit smiled, their ethereal forms glowing brighter. Then we will follow you, Elian. Together, we can change the fate of this kingdom. As the forest around them hummed with a new energy, Elian felt a profound connection to the spirits. He was no longer alone. With their stories guiding him, he was ready to embrace his destiny, to fight for a brighter future, not just for himself, but for all who had suffered under Lord Varen's rule. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows over the fields of Lurenth. A sense of despair filled the air as news spread of Lord Varen's latest decree. His harsh words echoed through the village, instilling fear in the hearts of those who dared to oppose him. Elian felt the weight of the moment, a pressure that squeezed his heart. He had seen the way the villagers looked at one another, their eyes filled with worry and dread. "Stay quiet, stay hidden," an old woman whispered to her grandchild as they walked past Elian. He felt invisible once more, just a shadow among shadows. In the depths of his sorrow, Elian sought solace in the ancient forest. The spirits had become his companions, their stories woven with his own. They surrounded him, their soft whispers a gentle reminder that he was not alone. But now, as the news of Varen's decree reached him, the spirits grew restless. "Elian," a voice echoed from the trees. It was Talia, a spirit who had once been a healer in life. "You must act. The people suffer under Varen's rule." "I know," Elian replied, his voice trembling. "But what can I do? I am just invisible." "No longer," Talia insisted. "You possess a power that can change the course of this kingdom. You must believe in yourself." Elian took a deep breath, feeling the spirits gather closer. Their energy pulsed around him, urging him to rise against the darkness that threatened to consume their home. He had learned so much from them, yet fear still clutched at his heart. "I can't just confront him," Elian said, shaking his head. "What if I fail? What if I lose myself in the fight?" "Then you will do so with honor," another spirit chimed in, a warrior from a time long past. "To fight for the living is to reclaim your own essence. You are not just a boy, you are a beacon of hope." The weight of their words settled on Elian. He felt a flicker of determination igniting within him. He thought of the villagers, the faces of his friends now clouded with fear. They needed someone to stand up for them, someone who could break the chains of Varen's tyranny. "I will do it," Elian finally declared, his voice stronger than before. "I will not let fear dictate my actions any longer." The spirits cheered, their ethereal forms swirling around him. They filled him with courage, weaving their strength into his very being. Elian felt a surge of energy, a connection to something greater than himself. He knew he had to confront Varen's enforcers, to show the villagers that they could stand together against oppression. As he made his way back to the village, Elian's heart raced. He could see the villagers gathered in the square, their faces drawn and anxious. His mind raced with thoughts of how to inspire them, to show them that they could fight back. "Look," he said, stepping forward, "I know you are afraid. I am afraid too. But we cannot let Varen's cruelty control us any longer. We have to stand together." The villagers turned to him, their expressions a mix of confusion and hope. "You think we can fight him?" a young man shouted, doubt coloring his tone. "Yes," Elian urged, feeling the spirits behind him. "If we unite, if we believe in each other, we can create a force that even Varen cannot ignore." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Elian saw the flicker of hope in their eyes, the way they leaned in closer, listening. He felt the spirits rallying around him, their presence strengthening his resolve. "Will you join me?" he called out, his voice ringing with passion. "Will you stand against the darkness?" One by one, villagers began to nod, their spirits lifting. The old woman who had whispered to her grandchild stepped forward, her eyes shining with determination. "We will stand with you, Elian. Together, we will not let Varen take our home." With a newfound sense of purpose, Elian felt the fear that had once paralyzed him begin to dissolve. He was not just a boy lost in shadows. He was a leader, a beacon of hope for his people, and together they would face whatever darkness lay ahead. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the village square of Larenth. Elian stood at the center, his heart pounding, as he faced the group of thugs sent by Lord Varen. The air was thick with tension, and the villagers had gathered to watch, their eyes filled with a mix of fear and curiosity. "Look at the invisible boy," sneered one of the thugs, a burly man with a scar running down his cheek. "What do you think you can do, Elian? Hide in the shadows like always?" Elian clenched his fists, feeling the spirits whispering around him, their voices urging him to stand firm. He took a deep breath and called out, "I am not just an invisible boy. I am here to fight for all of us." The villagers murmured among themselves, surprised by his boldness. The spirits, drawn to his courage, began to manifest around him, their ethereal forms glowing softly in the twilight. They lifted his spirits, filling him with newfound strength. "Together we can overcome this darkness," Elian shouted, his voice steady. The thugs exchanged glances, their confidence wavering as they saw the gathering spirits. "Enough of this nonsense," the thug with the scar shouted. He lunged at Elian, but the boy was quick. He sidestepped, feeling the energy of the spirits surge through him. In that moment, he realized he could channel their power. With a wave of his hand, Elian summoned a gust of wind, knocking the thug off balance. The villagers gasped, their fear slowly turning into hope. "He's fighting back!" one woman cried out, her voice rising above the crowd. Emboldened, Elian faced the remaining thugs. "You think you can bully us? We will not cower in fear any longer." The spirits responded to his determination, their voices intertwining with his, creating a chorus of strength. "Bring it on!" another thug yelled, charging at Elian. But this time, Elian was ready. He focused on the spirits, and as he raised his hand, a barrier of shimmering light formed before him. The thug collided with it, stumbling backward in shock. "Impossible!" the scarred thug shouted, his bravado slipping away. "What magic is this?" "This is not just magic," Elian replied, his voice calm. "This is the strength of the forgotten spirits. This is our unity." The villagers watched in awe as Elian fought back, using the spirit's power to fend off the thugs. Each move he made was fluid, each gesture infused with purpose. He was no longer the boy who felt invisible. He was a beacon of hope. But as the battle raged on, Elian could feel the spirit's anger pulsing through him. With every strike, a darker side of his power emerged. He saw flashes of their past, betrayal, loss, and rage. For a moment, he felt consumed by their need for justice. "Remember who you are, Elian," one spirit urged. "Do not let their anger drown out your humanity." Elian paused, realizing he was on the brink of losing himself in the fight. He could feel the spirit's fury coursing through him, tempting him to unleash their wrath. Yet, he knew that vengeance could lead to his downfall. "I won't be like Varen!" he shouted, grounding himself in a moment of clarity. "I fight for justice, not revenge." With a renewed sense of purpose, Elian focused on the spirit's energy, directing it toward the thugs without letting anger take control. Instead of a force of destruction, he became a force of protection, pushing the thugs back with a wave of light. "Enough," Elian declared, his voice resonating with authority. "Leave this place and tell Varen we will not be silenced." The thugs hesitated, fear evident in their eyes as they realized they were no match for the combined strength of Elian and the spirits. With a final glance at the brave boy, they turned and fled into the shadows. The villagers erupted in cheers, their voices filling the square with joy. Elian stood, breathing heavily, feeling both victorious and hollow. The spirits swirled around him, their energy vibrant yet tumultuous. "You did it, Elian!" a villager exclaimed, rushing forward. "You stood up to them!" "Yes, but at what cost?" Elian whispered to himself. He felt a strange pull within him, the spirit's anger still lingering. Was he truly becoming a hero? or was he losing a part of himself in the process? As the sun dipped below the horizon, Elian knew this was only the beginning. The fight for Lorenth was far from over, and he had to find a way to balance the spirit's power with his own humanity. Elian wandered through the quiet village, his heart heavy with the weight of recent events. The victory over Lord Varen's thugs felt hollow, a fleeting moment of triumph overshadowed by the haunting echoes of the spirits. He sought a moment of peace, but the turmoil within him only grew. As he moved toward the edge of the village, Elian spotted a woman tied to a tree, her eyes wide with fear. It was Mira, a villager known for her bravery. She had spoken against Varen's decrees, and now she faced the consequences. Elian's breath caught in his throat. "Mira!" he called, rushing to her side, heart pounding. "What happened?" "They captured me while I was gathering herbs," she replied, her voice trembling. "They wanted to make an example of me. Varen's men. They're ruthless." Elian hurried to untie her. "We need to get you out of here. They can't keep doing this." As he worked at the knots, Mira whispered urgently, "Elian, listen. I have something important to tell you about Varen, something that changes everything." The last knot fell away, and he pulled her to her feet. "What do you mean?" "Varen. He is not just a tyrant. He has a past, one that ties him to your family," she said, her eyes locking onto his with intensity. "Your mother, she was once close to him. They were friends before everything changed." Elian felt a chill run down his spine. "What? That can't be true." "It is. I overheard his guards talking about it. They said your mother betrayed him, and that's why he turned into the monster he is today," Mira continued, her voice a mixture of fear and urgency. "He believes he was wronged, and that anger drives him. You must understand, Elian, that revenge may not be the answer." Elian stepped back, the weight of her words crashing over him like a wave. "But he has hurt so many people. He deserves to pay for what he has done." "Maybe he does," Mira agreed softly. "But think of the cycle of violence. If you seek revenge, will you be any different from him? Will it truly bring you peace?" Elian looked into Mira's eyes, searching for answers. The spirit's whispers filled his mind, echoing her words, urging him to see beyond his pain. They shared their stories of loss and forgiveness, each tale a thread woven into the fabric of his own struggle. "What should I do?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Choose compassion," she said. "Understand him, if you can. That's how you break the cycle." Elian's heart raced with conflicting emotions. The spirits had shown him the path of vengeance, but now he faced a choice that felt far more daunting. He was not just a boy seeking justice. He was a bridge between the past and the future. "Compassion," he repeated, testing the word on his tongue. "But what if he hurt more people? What if he doesn't change?" "Then you must find a way to stop him without becoming like him," Mira replied, her voice steady. "You have the power to bring hope, Elian, but it must come from understanding, not anger." The revelation sank deep into his heart. Elian thought of the spirits, their pain, and their unyielding hope for redemption. They had shown him that even in the darkest moments, there was a choice to be made. "I will try," Elian said finally, determination mixing with doubt. "I'll confront him, but I won't seek revenge. I will make him understand." Mira smiled, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "That's the spirit, Elian. You can change the course of this kingdom. You can be the leader they need." As they left the shadows of the trees behind and stepped into the light, Elian felt a shift within him. He was no longer just the invisible boy. He was a part of something greater. He was a voice for the forgotten, a beacon of hope amid despair. With newfound resolve, Elian knew that the path ahead would be challenging. But now, he held the key to breaking the cycle of violence. It lay in understanding, in empathy, and in the courage to choose compassion over vengeance. As dawn broke over Lorenth, Elian stood at the edge of the ancient forest. The air was thick with tension, and the weight of what was to come hung heavily on his shoulders. Around him, the spirits shimmered in the morning light, their forms barely visible, but their presence undeniable. They had gathered to support him, each one representing the pain and hope of the village. Elian could feel their energy, a warm glow that both comforted and emboldened him. "Are you ready, Elian?" whispered a spirit named Lyra, her voice like a gentle breeze. She had shared her story of loss and longing with him, and now her eyes sparkled with a fierce determination. "I have to be. This is for all of us," Elian replied, his heart pounding. He looked at his friends, living and spirit alike, who had come to stand by him. They were ready to face Lord Varen, and he could not let them down. As they moved toward the village square, Elian felt the spirits flanking him, their energy wrapping around him like an invisible cloak. He could hear the whispers of the villagers as they gathered, their faces a mix of fear and hope. Elian took a deep breath, knowing this moment would change everything. When they reached the square, Lord Varen was already there, flanked by his thugs. The sight of the tyrant sent a chill through Elian, but he stood tall. Varen's eyes glimmered with malice as he surveyed the crowd. "Look at this pitiful gathering," Varen sneered, his voice booming. "You think these spirits can protect you? You think you can challenge me?" Elian stepped forward, his voice steady. "You do not understand the strength we have. It is not just the spirits. It is the bond we share as a community. We will not let you harm us any longer." Varen laughed, a cruel sound that echoed through the square. "You, a mere boy, dare to speak to me of bonds. You are nothing but a ghost in a world of shadows." For a moment, doubt flickered in Elian's mind, but the spirits surged within him, pushing him to stand firm. "I may be invisible to you, but I am not powerless. I know the truth of our past, and I will not let your tyranny continue." As he spoke, the spirits behind him began to glow brighter, their whispers growing into a chorus of voices. "Stand with us, Elian. Show him the power of our unity." With each word, Elian felt a wave of purpose flooding through him. He glanced back at his friends, their faces filled with support, and he knew he had to make a choice, one that could change everything. "Lord Varen," Elian called out, his voice rising above the tension. "I know the truth of our intertwined fates. You are not just a ruler, you are a part of our story. I choose compassion over revenge. I want to help you heal too." The crowd gasped, and even Varen paused, confusion flickering across his harsh features. "Help me? You think I need your help?" "Yes," Elian replied, stepping closer, his heart racing. "We all carry pain, but we can choose to rise above it. Let us break this cycle together. Do not let your darkness consume you." For a moment, silence enveloped the square. The villagers watched, their breaths held, while the spirits swirled around Elian, urging him on. Varen's expression shifted, a crack in the armor of his arrogance. "You think I can change? I have done terrible things." "Yes," Elian said gently, "but you can choose to do better. We all have the power to change our paths." As the weight of Elian's words sank in, the villagers began to murmur among themselves. Slowly, they stepped forward, one by one, showing their support for Elian's plea. "Together, we can rebuild," a villager spoke up, her voice strong. "We can create a future where no one is invisible." Varen's defenses crumbled as he looked around at the faces of those he had tormented. In that moment, the tyrant was no longer just a figure of fear, but a man confronted with his own humanity. As the first rays of sunlight broke over the village, illuminating the dusty square, Elian realized that true strength lay not in the fight, but in the choice to connect, to empathize, and to heal. The echoes of the forgotten spirits whispered through the air, a reminder that they were all part of this journey together, a journey toward light and hope. Share this story if you believe that compassion can transform even the darkest of hearts. Leave a comment about a moment when you chose understanding over conflict, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring tales like this one.